Hello everybody and happy Easter. I hope we're all well. You'll see we're doubled. I've got you down here and up here as well. I've got a new computer and I've actually got both of the webcams to work, which is quite exciting. Hopefully it'll make my life a little bit easier. Puts a bit of a face to what's going on as well, if some of you haven't seen me before on any of my videos. Okay, so let's crack on. Haha, quite a good pun. Crack on. It's Easter. We're going to do an egg. So I've got my little flag all ready. Remember, you have to alter this to however you want to work, whatever shape you've got. So I've got a piece of yellowy textured fabric. I've just got 2 threads. Today we're going to really play around with stitching. I know a few people have asked about doing a bit more hand stitching, so we are going to do some more hand stitching. So I've drawn around my template on there, and then I have done myself an egg shape. So I just folded a piece of paper in half, cut it out, and you open it up, then you know that it is symmetrical. So I've done my little egg shape to fit on my piece. I've then got a piece of cotton fabric. I've ironed it onto a bit of Bonder web and drawn my egg shape around it. Looking for my other scissors. Oh, where have they gone? I think the elusive Brooks have been coming in and nicking my scissors again. Right, okay. We use these ones as some old stitching scissors. So. Right, so I'm going to cut out our egg shape. I'm hoping this is going to deter me from eating eggs. I should have one with me actually while I'm doing this. Never thought about that. So if you're going to start doing this, go grab yourself a chocolate egg. There's a bit of a debate in our family as to how you eat a chocolate egg. So my daughter's boyfriend says you should just unwrap it and bite it, whereas we like smashing them. Smash it. So it's really good because usually it's quite hard to smash them. Okay, right, so I've got my Bonder web. So Bonder web is just a fusible fibre that's on a piece of paper. You can iron it on and then you just rip the edge. You can pull the backing off and it leaves a layer of glue. You could use fabric glue. You might even just do it so that it's going to be stitched on. That's perfectly fine, totally doable, up to you. I'll put that under there. So then it saves me taking it out with my hoop. And then just pop a hot iron on. Do it from the front. I always tend to do it from the back as well. I just think it just makes sure that it's definitely glued on. If you ever have problems with Bonder web, one of the things that I have discovered over time is that if it's left open to the air, it sort of degrades. It's not as good. So if you ever have put your teeth in, if you ever have any, if you've bought it like as a sheet or something like that, maybe just get the inside roll. Sorry, I'm trying to unplug my, there we go, iron. Get yourself like the cardboard roll from cling film or food wrap or something like that, and then wrap it round tight on itself so that it's sort of contacting itself. It's not going to degrade then. Okay, right, so I've got my little egg. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw myself some guidelines on here for my stitching. So I'm sort of going to curve my line. Wrong pen. Oh, that's classic, Anne. Got one of these friction pens. So now that bit is not going to disappear. These are friction pens. They disappear with heat. So I'm just going to draw myself some guidelines. I'm sort of curving it so it's giving that illusion of it being 3-dimensional. Hopefully I'm going to fit. I have got a plan for what I'm doing. I don't know if it's all going to fit on. That's that one. Then add that. Chain. We'll see. It might not all fit on what I've got planned. There we go. So I've drawn myself some lines on. So we're ready to start. Keep it Okay, so I'm going to start with my plum colour. So I've gone for a plum and a gold colour. So I'm going to start on the outside of my egg, and what I'm going to do first is a back stitch. So back stitch is where you just go on a little bit. So you go on one, and then back one, and obviously get your thread in a knot as it's going back through. So I'm going to go through a range of stitches on this one. You can either follow, do exactly the same, or as usual mix it up a bit. I suppose it depends on how new you possibly are to stitching. Some of you may want to keep it really simple, some may want to go really ornate, but I just thought with it being a bank holiday weekend, hopefully the sun's going to shine, and it means then you can get yourself sat out in the garden with your chocolate egg and your stitched egg and stitch along. So I'm doing this one in my embroidery hoop because I just want to keep that fabric nice and tight. So because I think I'm probably going to end up stitching the whole of this on the video, obviously you can fast forward if you wish. Right, and then just make sure that that last stitch comes up the backing fabric and then onto your egg. The reason for that is it's just going to make sure that that edge on your piece is fastened down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my thread over there because I'm going to keep using that thread at some point, so there's no point tying it off. Just wrap it around there. So I'm going to turn this one then into a Pekingese stitch. So this is where you're going to wrap a thread around. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this one is I am coming up in between my first two stitches. Okay, and this one we don't go through the fabric or anything like that, so we're going to go underneath that thread, underneath the one to the right, and then I'm going to go back to the first one, and you create a little loop going upwards, and then you go onto the next stitch, go underneath, pull it through, and then you go back one. You've got to make sure that you're not going through your fabric or catching your threads. Now I've got stranded cottons here. I'm using 3 strands for each one. You could use a perlé if you want to. You could go for something slightly thicker. So you go on one, back one. Now if you're finding that your needle's going through everything, flip your needle around and just use the blunt side of your needle just to bring it through, and it's going to create a lovely little loop at the top, like a little crown on our egg. There you go. We could have some music playing. Been looking forward to doing this one since I planned it. It's just to sit and it's like doing an egg sampler. Right, then when you get to the end, go through your last one, come back through, so you create a last little loop and then go through to the back. Then before you just finish it off, just use the back of your needle just to pull that up. Look, and it just creates like a little crown on our piece. So I'm going to keep with my yellow thread next. Just going to get my pen, just draw myself a little guideline. So I'm trying to keep it, if I can, parallel. So I'm going to come on next, I'm going to use my yellow thread and I'm just going to do a chain stitch next. So again, coming up the fabric, so chain stitch, you create yourself a little loop, back in, then when you come back up, don't stab yourself with your needle, make sure that that thread goes underneath your needle, pull it through. Now we're going to do a connected chain, so they're just going to go one after another. So go back down the hole that that thread's just come up, make a stitch, make sure that thread goes underneath, and just carry on going. So this is our little chain stitch. So you can do chain stitches connected or disconnected, but this is a connected one because we're joining them all together. Try and keep them fairly similar size. Did a slightly bigger one then, which I hadn't meant to do. Oops. So because stranded cotton sometimes can just get a little bit split up. So just working out which ones, there we go. Then all you need to do is just get your thread, just take your needle back down to the bottom, and then just pull your needle back up again. You just find, especially when you're going around different shapes, that so it's like going around a corner, sometimes some bits go around faster than others. Put that under there, and again when you come to your last one, make that stitch that's just right at the very edge of your egg, and then go back down. Okay, so I'm going to bring my yellow just to this side now because I don't want to go back to using my red one. So we've got our Pekingese and our chain stitch. Don't faff about with that end one. Right, next stitch that we're going to do is a blanket stitch. That's my guideline. Okay, right, blanket stitch. I always have to think about where I'm starting. So wherever you want the line to be, that's where you bring up your needle. Sometimes I feel like I do this, sorry my screen keeps going off, that I'm doing it upside down. So you lay your thread along the line that you're going in, and then, oops, make a stitch to that line, make sure the thread's underneath your needle, and pull it through. And work your way along. I think I'm going to hopefully be able to fit everything in. I think when you do a doodle and then you start stitching, I think doodles end up being a little bit bigger. Just check that those threads, probably should have done this in a purley. If you want to make your life easier, do it in a purley. But I just quite liked these colours. I'm just using two. If you can't do just a single stitch, just go down. Because you've got like the bonder web behind your fabric, it can sometimes just make it a little bit harder, like to do a stitch in one. Right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish it just with a stitch across, just so it mirrors the other side. So that's going to go back into the fabric. And then what I want to do another line coming the other way. So I'm going to leave a little gap in between. And then I'm going to come back the other way. So I always find if you just lay your thread where you want it to go, it's just a little bit easier to judge where you want your stitch in. So I'm trying to match the lines up with the lines of the stitch above, so it's sort of symmetrical. go. So again, it gets to that last one. Oops, I've gone through my thread. There we go. Pop it down to the back. Right, my thread's getting a little bit smaller, so I'm going to tie that off. There's nothing worse than carrying on stitching with something and running out of thread, or thinking you can just keep going. There we go. Right, so I'm going to pick up my yellow thread, and what I'm going to do coming back is this bottom set. I'm going to pop a little French knot, so point your thread, point your needle away from the hole, 2, 3, 4, and then go back down. So I'm coming up in the middle, point your thread away, point your needle towards your finger and thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4, back down. Obviously you could do, and I might end up doing before I finish, little French knots in the other side as well. I might do them in the other colour. Oops. Go. Right to the other edge, and this thread's getting a little bit shorter as well, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do, not going to do, let's go back to the backhand. I thought I was going to get away. I nearly fell into that trap of thinking, oh, I've got enough thread, it'll be fine. It never is fine. Okay. Right. So there we are so far. Looking cute. Okie dokie. Right, I'm going to do another chain stitch. So I'm just going to draw myself a line, just so that I know where I'm going. So these friction pens, you just iron them. So I'd iron it on the back, and then they just vanish. So I'm going to come in with my thread again, just off the actual egg, and just create my little chains. So I might try and line my chains up. Well, I was going to line them up, but I think then they'll just get a little bit too big. Keep them all the same. Oops. Sort the thread out again. There we go. So just holding that thread with my thumb, and then just making that stitch. I don't know if I need the light. I don't think that's making much of a difference. Just I've had to pull the blind down. Our house is south facing, which is lovely. Gives you fantastic light, but when it's sunny it's just super bright and you can't actually see anything. So to pull the blind down, which always feels a bit sad because it's like you're not enjoying that sunshine. go. Right, we're off again. Just think choosing two colours as well, one that's a little bit more muted and then one that just pops, I just think is really nice. I was going to do this all multicoloured, which obviously you can do if you wanted to, but I just decided that would just be a bit too much. So I thought, if I just go for two colours, means that I'm really focusing on the stitching. So again, that last one, take it right to the very edge, and then to finish off your chain stitch you just go down the outside and it catches that chain down. Right, so okay, that's those ones. So next I am going to do a back stitch again, but I'm going to do it in the yellow this time. There we go. Again, coming at the side. Oh, just got a little bit of that tail. Little back stitch, so you stitch on, and then obviously the reason it's called a back stitch is because you go backwards, pop it in, so I'm making these ones a little bit bigger, so it's a nice solid line of yellow. Just gives it a nice edge. Concentrating. So time it so I can just get a couple of stitches in, because you don't want that last stitch to be absolutely massive, so you might just want to adjust your stitches just as you're getting towards the edge. Down, up. Screen's gone off again. I don't know why it does that. It's like those sensors we have at school where if you don't move the lights go out. Okay, right, so nearly halfway, looking nice. Okay, right then, so I'm going to do next a cross stitch, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just mark it out a little bit, just so that I sort of know where I'm going. I just find with things like that, that if you don't just plan it out, you either run out of space or it ends up looking a bit rubbish. So a cross stitch, so I'm going to go from one side first, so one of my diagonals. I know that I'm probably not going to hit it exactly on the line, but I've got my lines just so that I sort of know where I'm aiming for. So hopefully this is going to look good enough to eat by the time you've finished. So if you wanted to, I'm just going to keep mine just stitched. But if you wanted to add beads or anything, obviously it depends on how big your flag is. I know some people are working in books and on bigger pieces and stuff like that, so as I always say, you adjust it to how you want it to be. So then I'm going to come back over the other way, so I'm using the holes then that I have already created, so I'm sort of coming up, or trying to anyway, coming up where that thread went down and kind of praying that I've got enough thread. Don't realise actually, because you end up like doubling up on the back, you don't realise how much thread a cross stitch we'll use. Don't think I'm going to have enough to take right to the edge. Oh, nuts. Oh, look at that. That's probably typical. I'm going to get the last one out of it. Ooh. Risk it for a biscuit. Oh. Oh. Blimey, Riley. Oh, I can't tie it off. Oh, nuts. Right, so, little trick. If you get little bits like that and you've got your 2 threads, just grab that bit that's come back through and then just knot it onto a thread that you're just busy using. It'll just stop it coming back through. Obviously that is not a technical way of doing embroidery at all, but it's meant that I've managed to keep my little bits. Okay, right, so I've got my goldy coloured thread, so I'm going to come back at the bottom and do another back stitch. Now you've just created yourself loads of little shapes, so you could do little stitches into that. You can obviously go to town on this if you wish. So I'm doing the solid lines either side because it just sort of neatens up that edge. Okay. So I hope we're enjoying all the flags. I'm definitely enjoying looking at them on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you for sharing them with everybody. It's well worth going and having a look at how everybody's interpreting them. I just love how certain weeks people get carried away with stuff. So when we did the origami butterflies, I do apologise for the error in my measurements on the piece of paper, but it all got sorted. Thank you for helping each other again. But some people got slightly carried away with making butterflies, which was quite cute. They are lovely. I shared them with one of our girls in sixth form who's making a quilt. She's doing cathedral windows, which one of the things that I love about teaching at work is that I end up learning new stuff. I've never done quilting before, so we learnt how to do an easy version of cathedral window quilts. And oh, just so nice. She's putting butterflies in it as well. Right, then I'm going to use the same thread and I'm just going to do a running stitch. So a running stitch, we don't go backwards, you're just going to go up and down and try and keep your stitches fairly even, because being a bit optimistic, trying to get all that through there. There we go. Right, and stop being optimistic or trying to take a shortcut. A straight stitch. Yeah, I think I would recommend just doing 2 colours. Makes it a little bit more cohesive. I think if you went for loads of, unless you did every strand, like every pattern, just in a different colour and maybe repeated it, or you could go for one colour and do different shades, so it could start lighter at the top and get darker towards the bottom. Okie dokie. Right, take that through to the back. Right, I need to thread up another needle now. Right, if you're pulling out your stranded cottons, lay your cotton straight If you split it at the end, so you've got your 3 and your 3, and if you hold that and then just pull, it comes out, and then you've just got that all together as well. Makes it a little bit easier than trying to twist it out. Right. I thought it was going to be really good having the 2 screens, however I have just realised that all you're looking at is me looking down all the time. Oh well. I feel like I'm in the room with you a little bit more this week. Okie dokie. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to whip this stitch around our running stitch. So bring it up at the bottom, again on the outside, and this time you want to use the blunt end of your needle. So all you're going to do is flip your needle around the other way, and you're going to come underneath that thread. So I'm going from top to bottom. Make sure you've gone underneath the whole thread, pull it through, and then you do the same on the next one, top to bottom, underneath the thread, pull it through. Next one, top to bottom, underneath, and what that's doing is it's whipping it around the thread, the stitch that you've done. Now we've done doing this on a running stitch. If you want it to look a little bit more intense, you can do it on a back stitch. So top to bottom, and then when you get to the other end, just go through the back, and you end up with a really, really cute, come on focus, you know you want to, there we go, really cute, just whipped, little whipped stitch. I'm going to open the blind a bit, see if I can get a little bit more light in without blinding myself. I don't really know that that's made a difference at all. Oh well. We'll just carry on. So you can see there, that's sort of like whipped it through. Okay, right, I'm going to do a disconnected fly stitch next, coming back along. So again, I'm just going to mark on, so I just want one in the middle, just sort of where I want them. That one there, that one there, just gives me a little bit of a guide as to where we're going. So I'm going to do those, it'll go in the purpley colour. So a disconnected fly, starting at this side. So again, I'm going to come up on my backing fabric, and you're creating a Y shape. So in between those 2 lines there, I'm going to go down, come up in the middle, make sure your thread's underneath your needle, and then you're just going to go down to that line. Then you're going to come back up at that side of the Y. So I'm coming up at this side here, in the middle, create my Y shape, and then go down. So again, come up at the top of that Y, lay your thread down in between the middle, creating the stitch. That stitch is sort of going back to that little line that you've just done. So they're disconnected in the fact that you are doing them separately, but they are sort of connected at the top. It's just not the traditional way of connecting them. It's just about creating a lovely, lovely pattern. So in the middle, come to the top of that stick, top, in the middle, go, in the middle, top of the stick. So, like I say, proper long video this week, seeing as though I can't really just do a little bit and say, off you go. So, obviously feel free, fast forward, rewind, just get the gist of an idea and then just crack on with something. There we go. That's looking cute. Now then, the next stitch that I'm going to do is I'll just do another whipped stitch just to map the bottom of that. Got enough. Is one that I've seen on the internet. I've searched for the name of it and I can't find it, and I've not tried it yet. I know the basic principles, but I want to try it for the first time on here. So you might have to bear with me while I get my head round what we're doing. It's a little bit like a knot, but they end up being connected, and I saw it on a video of somebody that was doing fish scales on a little embroidery, and it looked so cute. So I just hope I can remember it, because I don't think I saved the video, which was a little bit... Oh no, I did save the video, so I shall have a go from what I can remember. I thought it was like a scroll stitch that I've done before, and I don't know if it is the scroll stitch, but just a little bit closer together. So again, coming top to bottom, so I'm just going to do a whipped yellow top to bottom, just so it frames that stitch. Our little fly stitches. I love learning new stitches. Possibly not the best idea just doing it straight onto here, not having practiced it, but yeah, I've got to give something a go every now and again, haven't you? Live life a bit dangerously. It might be the stitch that I do, you know it. You might not know it. I've tried googling it. I think it's an adaptation of a stitch. So I'm going to do it in my yellow. Right. Come on, Anne, you can do this. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Feeling a bit nervous now. I've just taught myself into doing something I've not done before, but hey ho. Here we go. Right, I'll draw myself a little line again, just to give me a little guide, so that I know that I'm keeping everything together. Right, I'm just going to do a sneaky, just a quick watch, just so that it helps me remember what I'm doing. I can't even remember where I saved it. It's not on that one. I love Pinterest, it's amazing, just for learning new bits and pieces, but you end up with so many blooming oh, got sound on it. Turn that off. Right, okay. Right, here we go. It's fairly straightforward. Hopefully it's going to work. So what I'm going to do is bring my stitch up. I'm going to go down into my egg. Okay, right, we're going to start with our first stitch. So you basically, I'm saying, you basically, no, because that don't work because my thread's not on the top. Oh, nuts. It's gone crazy already. All right, okay. So, gone wrong already. So, start with my thread up. Right. Right, so let's start again. Come up with your thread. You make a little stitch. Make a little stitch. So that's coming up. And you get that, you wrap it round. That's it. You wrap it round. No, you don't. Oh, okay, let's start again. This might get abandoned. This is well funny. Right, let's start again. Come on, Anne. You've got this. You can do it. Come on. Breathe in. Feel like it's exercises. Right, you can't even tie a knot now. In my head, when I was watching this, I was like, right, I've got this. I know exactly what I'm doing. Right. Okie dokie. Take that back to the beginning. Right. So, to do this stitch then, you bring your thread up. So I've got it up. I don't understand how she does that. She's got a thread up. Is that a totally different needle? Oh, nuts. Right, okay. I'm with it. I couldn't work out how she was doing that. She has two threads. Oh, genius. I think, anyway. I think she's got two threads. Right, I think she's got two threads. This is a slightly longer video than I'd planned. Oh dear. All the fun of the fair. Right, so she's going to have two threads. So you could do this in contrasting colours. As soon as I'm doing it for the first time, I'm going to do it in the same colour. So basically you're going to have one thread. Well, this is now what I think she's done. Is one thread is the stitching thread. And then the next one wraps. I think that's what she's doing. Oh my god. Maybe I shouldn't have done this on. Anyway, it's right. So let me look again. Start again. So she's got that thread there. That thread goes up and back. Right. Okie dokie. We're off. So this needle comes up. That thread wraps anti-clockwise around the thread. And to anchor this one down then, you just go back a stitch. Okay. The thread comes up again, a little bit further on. Get that thread, wrap it anti-clockwise, and then this needle then, oh, sorry, goes back down that last little stitch that you did. Probably should have done this in two colours. There we go. Let's leave that one over there. Okay, right, we'll do this again, see if I can get a bit closer. So this is my other thread. This one is my stitching thread. So this is going to come up. That comes up. That thread goes anti-clockwise round. Bring that needle through. And then that goes back down the hole on the other thread. Oh, that's quite cute. So it comes up, comes up, this thread goes round, you bring that needle up and it goes back down the hole on the other thread. Bring it up this thread, wrap it round, you don't want to pull it too tight, and then that goes back down that hole. Oh, it's quite cute. Come up. Glad I've now worked it out with two. I thought she did it with one and I could not work out how the heck she'd got a thread needle coming underneath and a thread on the top. Blooming genius. Well, I've never stitched with two needles like this before. One, wrap that round, and that goes back down the hole. The other one. So this would be quite nice actually if you did it maybe with six strands, or you could always do two different coloured threads. And now you see, this is probably where I was going wrong when I was trying to find out the name of this stitch, because I thought it was just like connected knots. I'm going to have to do a Google search, unless anybody can pop in the comments. Quite like this. So when I'm going back down, I'm just looking for the little circle that I've made before, and you're just going down the middle of that circle. It just sort of pegs it down. Thread anti-clockwise. Ooh, love learning a new stitch. Even if it was kind of live, that was a bit scary. But it just shows when I was watching it, I thought, oh, that looks fairly straightforward. You just come up, wrap your thread round. Should pay more attention. So it's sort of creating these like little loopy bits. It's kind of cute. I suppose it's just playing around then with your tension. And like I said, I think it would be better this in possibly like, oh sorry, you're not in the screen, possibly a thicker purlay, so you're not worrying about all this, because sometimes when you work with a stranded cotton they're great, but especially if you're doing something like this, I'm not sure that I am going down the middle of each one of the stitches. I think if I was going to do this again, I would do it with a purlay rather than a stranded. But you learn. That's what it's all about. Yes, it's a bit hard to get right down the holes of your previous stitch. Oops. But the person that I was watching on Pinterest that had done it was using it for fish scales, so I can totally see if you were doing an embroidery and you wanted like of a textured finish to it, because you're sort of wrapping this around. Well, they're getting better now as I'm going along. Probably should have practiced on a separate hoop. I don't know what I was saying then. I know I said it was getting better as I was going along. Yeah. Oh, that was it. I suppose because you wrap it in two threads together, it's sort of lifting it off the surface. But that's cute. I like that. I think that's something that we might feature again. Especially if I can find out what it's called. Wrap that round. Right, then when it comes to the last one, obviously we've got to try and finish off with both threads. So I'm going to go up and round. That's going to go through to the back. There we go. And then that one just comes over the top and just anchors that down. So you've taken them through to the back. Yay! That was exciting. 2 threads at the back now. Don't need both of those. Both as long as each other. Oh God. It's all gonna be crackers. Right, finish one of those off because I don't need 2 of those at the back. That's definitely a stitch that I'm going to practice again. I think that could look really, really effective. Right. Yeah, if you look, it definitely got better. I think that's what it's meant to look like. Don't think it's meant to look like that so much. So that's really cute. I quite like that. That's a bit different. A little bit different. We like a little bit different. Right, so need a bit of red now. What we got? There's not much left on that. Let's thread a new one. Okay. Right, I'm going to do a blanket stitch at the bottom to sort of give me a bottom to my egg. Well, I'm going to try and do a blanket stitch at the bottom if I could actually thread a needle. If you're still with me, you're still keeping going, well done. Just had a look up, 52 minutes into this week's video. This might be the longest one that I've done so far. So if you're still with me and you've not lost the will to live, well done. Needles just don't want to thread when you particularly want them to thread themselves. Come on. You know you want to be threaded. Okay, right, so I'm going to create a bottom to my egg with my red thread. So I'm just going to draw myself just a couple of lines because I want it to sort of feel like it's coming inwards to give a bit more of a solid base. So because I want that solid line at the bottom, so this is going to go right around the edge of the bottom of my egg. So I'm going to lean it along the edge and come in from that line, and then I'm coming up right on the very, very edge of my egg on the actual backing fabric. Again, back up. Edge and back up. And then you can add any other stitches that you want to. So I've obviously got some spaces left, so you can add anything that you want in your extra little bits. You could do some more French knots, back stitch, could be absolutely anything. Then when you've done it all and you've got it all done, what you want to do then is edge. I'm going to tie that off because I'm not going to want that for a minute. I'm going to edge the egg. Edge the egg. Sounds like a game show. Edge the egg. Right, so I've finished my blanket stitch on the bottom, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a back stitch all the way around, and I'm getting it right on that backing fabric right next to my egg. So it's going to give it a nice outline. So this isn't on the fabric that you've appliqued, it's right on the very, very edge. What this should do then is all those bits of threads that you've started, it'll just cover them up. So it'll then just give it a really, really neat edge around your egg. I'm not planning on doing anything on the background of my flag because I want this to be like the showcase piece. So I've just cut this out then and then pop it on my background. So I'm probably going to do a little bit more stitching on this and add a few more bits and pieces, but I think you've nearly spent an hour with me this week, so you've probably heard enough and just want to go and get on with your sewing. So happy Easter. I hope everybody has a lovely weekend wherever you are. I hope the weather's nice, or stays nice, or becomes nice, and that everybody is safe and well. So getting to the edge or end of that bit of thread, just show you on half of it then what it's going to look like. Just leave it at that and I can finish that off. So there's our little egg. How cute is that? So I've still got some little bits here that I'll probably do a little bit in. I might do something here at the top just to finish it off. So like I say, happy Easter everybody. I hope you're all well, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Don't forget to share your eggs. Mwah.